Are you experiencing difficulties managing your task, or you feel like you're in a situation where you're overwhelmed by the unending to-do list that you have? Or maybe you are even struggling to decide what to tackle first. Some people also find themselves in a circle of prioritizing urgency over importance. If you find yourself in this situation and you would like to learn how to effectively manage projects and your products by leveraging on the Eisenhower Matrix, then you should be watching this podcast. But for real, managing multiple projects can actually be very overwhelming. In some cases, you find yourself constantly putting out fires, missing out on important emails, or struggling to keep up with your client demand. Trust me, it happens to most project managers, especially when you're new into the field and just getting used to managing a lot of projects. I've had conversations with my mentees, and most of them complain about the overwhelming tasks they have to work on because they are doing a lot of projects. And one thing that has worked for them is utilizing the Eisenhower Matrix. So how does this work? It basically works by dividing your task into 4 different categories. The first category is urgent and important. The second category is important but not urgent. The third category is urgent but not important. And the last category is not urgent and not important. First off, let's talk about urgent and important category. These tasks are actually considered as critical tasks in project management. They have deadlines that cannot be missed, or they can also be issues that you can't ignore because they would lead to escalations or major problems. In your project, this can be client escalations, it can be a milestone that is due, it can be a feature that is delivering a feature that is tied to a regulatory timeline. Things like that are basically tasks that you should actually focus on immediately. The next category is important but not urgent. These are typically tasks that actually contribute to the long-term success of your project, but they don't necessarily have a deadline. But guess what? It gets dicey because if you miss out on these things or maybe are negligent to actually deliver them on time, it can then lead or be promoted to being an urgent and important task. Examples of tasks that fall in this category can be grooming your backlog, maybe prioritizing for your next sprint, updating stakeholders on your next status reports, and the list goes on and on. The next category is the urgent but not important task. I'm sure most of us experience this a lot, where a task comes off as being very, very urgent, but whereas it is not directly urgent. More often than not, stakeholders paint this task as something that needs to be done quickly. But in some cases, it doesn't require your direct involvement. As a project manager, these are tasks that you are supposed to actually delegate or hand off to someone else to handle. An example of such tasks can be maybe writing a marketing copy, maybe creating an updated test plan. It could also be maybe writing a technical specification or doing a research. These things can actually be assigned to someone else within your team. And the last category I'll be talking about is the not urgent and not important. I'm sure this is very, very self-descriptive. These tasks are considered as distraction. That's the way I see it. And things like unnecessary meetings or unimportant admin calls actually fall in this category. Try to eliminate tasks like this to actually free up some time for yourself. In this case, delete all tasks that fall into this category. Understanding this method helps you actually allocate different tasks to the different quadrants. And understanding the quadrants each task falls into kind of like helps you deliver more efficiently as a project manager. So what I would say is ensure that you know these quadrants, ensure that you know how to categorize tasks into these different quadrants, and it helps you focus on knowing what to allocate, what to delete, and what to place focus on, hence leading to increased productivity as a product or a project manager. If you want to take control of your workload and manage multiple projects without any stress, then you need to start using this matrix. It's actually a game changer and has actually helped me and a lot of my mentees. Thank you for staying to the very end. I hope you're able to learn 1 or 2 things about Eisenhower Matrix. Typically, I recommend reading more about this so as to give yourself more insights in case I didn't cover everything in this podcast. Please feel free to like, comment, and share with someone in your network that might find this helpful. Thank you.